Master strategies and enjoy the journey of learning with Anil Kumar. I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We have hundreds of videos for you to practice. In this particular video, we'll discuss how do we sketch graph of a trigonometric function which is minus 2 cos of half x plus pi by 6 plus 1. I'm going to share with you two different methods of sketching this graph. Method 1 will involve complete transformations, step by step, how the key points change and how the graph changes. And method 2 is the alternate method in which you can sketch the graph very fast without even calculating the key points transformation. Let's look into this strategy of sketching graphs. You can also follow my playlist to practice and get better marks. In case you want to learn, you can send an email on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Now, let's talk about sketching the graph of the function f of x, which is minus 2 cos half of x plus pi by 6 plus 1. Method 1, where we are going to discuss the transformations. So basically, we'll begin with the cosine function. Let me write cos x and then incorporate the transformation, which will be cos of half x, that is horizontal stretch by a factor of 2, and then we'll do the vertical stretch factor with reflection. So then be minus 2 cos of half x. And after this, we are going to add up the translations. One translation is towards the left, which is by pi by 6, and the other one is moving up by 1, right? So I'll put them together. So what we have here is minus 2 cos of, let me write everything together. That is the final function, okay? So pi by 6 left and plus 1, correct? So with that, we'll be able to sketch the whole graph. So 5 key points which we will be considering, which are standard, are cosine function, as you know, starts with 0, 1, right? And then it goes to 0 for pi by 2. So let me write down the 5 points first. So it'll be at pi by 2, the value will be 0. At pi, it will be minus 1. At 3 pi by 2 is going to be back to 0. And at 2 pi, we'll get again the maximum value of 1. Now, when I say cos of half x, in that case, the x coordinate value stretches by a factor of 2. So the point here will not move vertically. Vertical point will remain same. Horizontal will be multiplied by 2. So we have 0, 1 here. Multiplying pi by 2 gives us pi, y value remaining same. This will give me 2 pi minus 1, and then this is 3 pi 0, and that is going to be 4 pi 1, right? So what you have seen here is that the xy point here will be now as 2x y, correct? Now as soon as you do minus 2 times half x, the a value now gets multiplied by minus 2, right? So uh, let's use a different ink. So we are comparing with the cos half x. The x values will now be same. The y values are changing. Multiply them by minus 2. So it be 0 minus 2. Here the x value remains same. Y value, because it is 0, 0 times anything is 0. Now the third one, at 2 pi, the value will be minus 1 times minus 2, which will be plus 2. And at 3 pi, again 0. At 4 pi, we expect 1 to become minus 2. So the graph is actually reflected. And as you can see, at this stage, the y values are minus 2 times the initial y value. Correct? See how the points are changing. Now, at the end, we are looking into two transformations. One is the translation towards the left. So let me rewrite this as 2x minus pi by 6. That represents the horizontal translation, pi by 6 left. And then, as far as the y value is concerned, minus 2y we had, to that we are going to add 1, correct? So, adding minus pi by 6 to 0 will give us minus pi by 6, and adding 1 to minus 2 will give us minus 1, correct? Now, minus pi by 6 will be 6 pi minus pi, which is 5 pi by 6, correct? 0 plus 1 is going to be 1. 2 pi minus pi by 6 means 12 minus 1, which is 11 pi by 6, right? And 2 plus 1 is 3. The next value, which is 3 pi 0, will now be 3 pi minus pi by 6. 6 times 3 is 18, minus 1 will be 17, right? 17 pi by 6, 0 plus 1 is 1. The last value, which is 4 pi, when you minus pi by 6, then it is 6 times 4 is 24, minus 1, 23 pi by 6, and the y value, minus 2 plus 1 will be minus 1. So finally, what we see is the graph of one cycle will be from minus pi by 6 minus 1, right? So it's going to start from the bottom and it will go like this. You get the whole idea, right? So that is one cycle where the initial point is minus pi by 6 minus 1 and the final point is 23 pi by 6, I should have written, right? So not 3, by 6 minus 1. So this is 23 pi by 6 minus 1, and that is minus pi by 6 minus 1, correct? The maximum value will be 11 pi by 6 pi by 6, 3. So that is going to be your graph. I hope you have understood the whole strategy, correct? So once you have the points, you can easily sketch the graph. Perfect. Now let me show how these points will look like on the graph. So let's begin with the cos x function. So let's say, we'll begin with cos x. So on this scale, that is 0, 1, and we have a cycle which is here we have 2 pi, right? So within 0 to 2 pi, we have one full circle, which will give us the cosine function starting with maximum, then going to 0, coming back to minimum, going to 0, and to maximum. So this is the starting point of one cycle of cosine x. Agreed, right? Of course, it continues. So we'll focus on only one cycle. Makes sense, right? Perfect. Now, I want to incorporate half of that horizontal stretch by a factor of 2, right, which is half x. So that means it is going to get stretched. So this 2 pi will become 4 pi, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a 4 pi. So now the function is going to end here, one cycle of cosine. It will start again from the same point. However, each point is stretched by a factor of 2. So this was at pi by 2, it will come to that point. This is at pi, it will go to 2 pi. This 0 will now go to that point, and so we have a curve which is kind of like this. Makes sense, right? So this is at 4 pi. We are sketching the graph of cos half x. You understand, right? Perfect. Now we can do minus 2. So let me write down minus 2 cos of half x. Makes sense? So minus 2 means multiply everything by minus 2 vertically, it is getting reflected, and this point comes here, right? So that is our minus 2. Makes sense? But 0 will remain at 0. The 1 value becomes 2, right? 0 remains at 0, and there you go, right? So what we have is, let me draw like this. That smooth curve is kind of important to sketch, right? Yeah, it cannot be a corner. Since it is a periodic wave, it is a good practice to sketch arrows at the end. Now, I know I took both translations, vertical and horizontal, together. In this case, I'll prefer to put them separate. So let me just first sketch the vertical translation of 1 unit up, which is, will now sketch minus 2 cos of half x plus 1. Get the idea. Plus 1 means the axis itself will move 1 unit up, right? So instead of the y equals to 0 being symmetric, the line of symmetry now also for the axis will be at 1. Every point will move up by 1 unit. You get the whole idea, right? So we are moving every point up by 1 unit. And then what we observe is that the cosine function will be kind of like this, right? Showing you in blue, right? Perfect. Now, finally, we'll sketch our final graph, which is the function itself, this particular function. It really means we are moving each point pi by 6 to the left. So this is what we need to incorporate. So pi by 6 is 2 division for me. So every point I'm going to, I'm here, so I'll move it here, right? So pi by 6 to the left. So see, that is how I'm going to move the point and then sketch the graph. So that is my points, correct? So this each division is pi by 6 to the left. You understand, right? So, which is 2 divisions on this particular scale. And what we get here is this graph. You get the idea, right? So that is the final graph, which is the graph of our function, which we're talking about. So in this particular slide, what you see is complete transformation as you see step by step on a graph. Perfect. So with that, we complete this transformation. Now, let me see. That was our method one. Let me discuss with you method two, right? So in method two, once again, we are going to sketch the same function, which is for us minus 2 cos of half x plus pi by 6 plus 1. Now, see the beauty. This time, we are going to sketch it without calculating any point whatsoever. Okay. So, how are we going to start? We are going to start with the axis of symmetry. So, we'll start with the axis. Axis is at y equals to 1, which is this particular point, correct? So, at y equals to 1, I'm going to draw the axis. There you go, right? That's the first thing which I'm going to do. Now the amplitude, which is 2 unit, right? So we have amplitude. So amplitude is 2 units. That means from here we go maximum 2 units and we go down 2 units. So this is the framework under which we are going to work. Is that clear to you? So the maximum will be 3 and from 1 to down will be minus 1. Makes sense, right? And then we are going to look into the time period t, which is 2 pi by k, and k is half for us, right? Which is 4 pi. So one cycle will be 4 pi long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 2 pi, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 4 pi for us. So this is the framework in which full one cycle should be drawn. Now, this framework is divided into four equal parts. Right? Let me just divide four equal parts. So, these four equal parts shows you the quadrants. And as you know, the cosine function starts with the maximum, comes to the axis, goes to the minimum, goes to the axis, and the maximum. So, this is the graph of a cosine function in which everything is included except for horizontal translation. Do you see that? So let me call this as g of x equals to minus 2. I mean, I should not say minus 2. It is 2, right? But we could have drawn minus 2 also, right? So let me just change it and make it minus 2, okay? Since there is a reflection also, let me reflection about x's. Since there is a reflection, I will now reflect each point to the other axis. So we get these points, you see, after reflection. So now I am sketching the graph after reflection. You get the idea, right? So I have incorporated the reflection in this particular graph. So once I have done the reflection, I have taken care of minus 2 also. Now the last step is phase shift of pi by 6 to the left. So in a way, as you can see here, with this framework, we have not taken any key points using calculation, but common sense, right? One cycle of 4 pi, which is the time period, divided into 4 equal parts of pi each. Since it is reflected, we have started with the minimum, gone to the axis, maximum. So as you can see here, it goes from minimum to axis to maximum to axis to again minimum, correct? This is because of the reflection part, right? Now the last thing is to shift it pi by 6 to the left. So two divisions are marked as pi by 6 in this particular scale. So we'll shift this and sketch the final graph joining these points. Makes sense, right? So we have this graph here, and then you can continue. Perfect. But I hope you have understood. How do we sketch the graph without calculation? So that is our method number 2. Especially when you are doing at higher level, this is what you should be doing, right? Okay, great. To summarize what we did the calculation of the points which are being calculated right there. So you will notice that xy points were mapped to the x values were multiplied by 2, right? And then subtracted pi by 6. The y values were multiplied by minus 2 and then we added 1. So as you can see, these are the x transform points and these are the y transform points. The calculation being done with starting with maximum, going to axis, minimum, axis, maximum. And once you do that, you got these particular points which are from minus 1 to 3, right? And the x values, since we moved pi by 6 to the left, one cycle is from minus pi by 6 to 23 pi by 6, not 24 pi by 6. We have to subtract pi by 6 from it. Makes sense, right? So that becomes the calculation, and this is your final graph, right? So as you can see, minus pi by 6, the graph starts, and it ends 23 pi by 6, right? So this is minus pi by 6 for us, and this end here is minus 20, sorry, plus 23 pi by 6. Makes sense. The maximum being, because we added 2 to 1, right? So it goes to, this is 1, right? So this is 3, and here it is minus 1. Makes sense? Y equals to 1. So that becomes the graph. The orange line is for cos x, and this is our function f of x shown in red color. So finally, that is the graph which you are going to get. So I hope all these steps are absolutely clear. Well, in case you want to learn in a very short period of time, you can always contact me on the email globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Our students are right there on the top getting scholarships for the best universities. Huge difference. Thanks for your valuable time and all the best.